All right, so we've modeled epidemics, and how can we fix this? How long is this going to last, Dad? How long is this going to last? You get these questions because, like, being locked up with your parents is probably one of the worst things that can happen at any age. Zoom and long walks and headphones aside, you can only lock out their whining for so long. But the reality is, we're looking at the big problems are, of course, if we look at, um, here we go. Back to where we were. We grab a few places in the country which are, I mean, the big problem, of course, New York, the Bronx, and Queens. There we go. The Bronx and Queens are pretty serious problems. Going off into sort of forever, and Chicago, um, and Detroit and Philadelphia. They seem to go on. Well, I mean, Philadelphia and Detroit seem to settle out in the end of April, um, and that's okay. They're smaller cities with lower density, but how would you fix Philly? I mean, that seems to be the problem. We're blaming just about everybody. So I'm going to bounce over here and look at Philly. Yeah, this is the incidents as of April 15th. The bright red are the places with really bad incidents. Largely, you'd have to say they were mismanaged or had problems. We could do total cases, which people like to look at, but incidents is how sort of how fast it spread into the population. And you can see there's some pretty bad areas. People were asking for this data to be released so they could better find, I guess, better find someone to blame. They said to manage, but largely certain ethnic groups were being blamed for the spread, and we'll explore that a little bit here. Some people would say, ooh, we'll deconstruct or we'll unpack it. Those are cool words, um, but I'm not going to use them anymore. All right, I am going to, however, first of all, I'm going to blame the prisons because, we know that it gets spread into prison. Those guards go home and spread it. So we're just going to put up the correctional facilities and, they're not in the bright spots. They're just not. They're not in the lowest spots either. You have to be careful. This blue, very low spot here is a naval yard, so not very many people there. It's not a it's not a good comparison. But so yeah, we see the correctional facilities are, well, they're in modestly high spots, but they don't stand out. Who else got blamed? SEPTA. Right. Let's look at the SEPTA trolley stops. Whoo, sure enough. Wow, look at bad areas. Lots of SEPTA trolley. Um, Southeast Pennsylvania Transit Authority. For those of you not from here, not septic, SEPTA, although they don't clean the trains enough to make you notice a difference. That was an unfair shot. Well, but that's only part of what SEPTA does. We do see some concentration there, so maybe. So we'll have the bus stops. Holy schlamolies. Um, that's a lot of bus stops. So, let me get the trolley routes on there, and let's go ahead and add the rail stations because the bus stops were there's just too many of them. I had to filter those, and sure enough, we see well apparently not rail. That's not really highly represented. There's sort of rail stops everywhere, and we see them in and out of areas. Pretty dense here in this area. Quite a few here, I guess. They could be, but these are colored in such a way that the ones with the most traffic, the bright green ones, so they counter shade against the red, are the ones that are really problems for traffic. And if really it was rail traffic, the bright green would be on top of the red, and it's not. Okay, so let's just do our SEPTA bus stops, not the ones where they drive by and slow down for you to jump off if you need to, but the ones where they actually stop and let people get on and get off. Um, and whoa, yep, the bright green ones. We see a lot in here and a lot down in here, but we also see a lot in areas that don't. So scientifically, yeah, the buses probably help spread it. We go up here to very low bus traffic, and they're two of the worst incidence places um, that we have. I'm going to turn the bus stops off because you can't really see much. What a bus system, though. My goodness, go SEPTA. Um, the fact that nobody's riding most of those buses bothers fiscal conservatives, but to heck with you, fiscal conservatives. We got buses, man. Um, so health centers, of course, health centers and hospitals. We know that sick people go to hospitals, and then it just spread out from the hospitals. Nurses took it home to their neighborhoods. Frontline spreaders, we call them. No, that's not fair. There are defenders now. Go farmers. Um, we'll add the hospitals, and so health centers and hospitals, yeah, pretty much everywhere. This area up here, again, no health centers or hospitals. So that starts, let's say these areas up here, these high risk areas up here, seem to throw some kinks into what everybody so far has wanted to blame. Well, whoopsies. Well, it's the blacks. I don't want to be mean, but it's the African American community that is really doing that. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to turn my hospitals off because they're getting in the way. I'm going to So these green dots now, oh, it's busy. Let me stop blaming SEPTA rail stations and trolley routes for the problem. These green dots are the percent African American. So you can see that everybody in Philadelphia had a right to blame these areas down here for being high risk because they have, a significantly high proportion of African Americans. As do these areas here, but these areas up here, I mean, I'm sorry, they're mostly white. Um, okay, they're mostly non-African American. Um, but we see these are two of the worst in the city, and these two zip codes, these are all zip codes, by the way. These two zip codes um, don't really show that relationship that everybody was looking for at all. So we have high and low in both races. Yeah, I'd be able to draw a line that showed there was a relationship. Not a problem for those of you who've drawn the lines. Um, but 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 then some are saying, well, you know, it's Hispanics, and I'm there. There's our Hispanics. They're on the same spot. So you'll see if a blue, it means there's high percentages of both. But notice that again, it's just not showing up in here. Again, these areas are predominantly Caucasian. These areas have a few of the Asians, meaning from the South Asian continent, not Chinese. The areas with lots of Chinese have the lowest rates, but don't need to show that. Um, but so far, I guess we can't blame ethnicity. A little bit, a little bit maybe, but it's the projects, man. It's the projects. It's these high density. Boom. So, whoa, it does actually look like high density housing might be a problem because in all of the areas except this little one right here, um, there are projects and lots of them, um, and these are public projects. But we all know that privatization is an awesome thing, so we turned that over to a few private. So we're going to add those, and well, sure enough, low rent housing does seem to be associated with high density living does seem to be associated with the spread, and that really shouldn't surprise anybody at all. Oh, my favorite, farmers markets. Let me turn those off because a bunch of people running around with masks on, fondling their vegetables. That's got to be a problem. And well, no, it looks like farmers markets. It could be a problem. I don't know. They seem to be well distributed, and in areas with the lowest don't seem to have much in the way of farmers market, except you know in some places. So maybe it's farmers markets. I kind of doubt it. But on your way to the farmers market, you got to pick up your condoms. So we'll do condom distribution centers, of course, because we know this is the wrath of somebody on this. Looks like there's condom distribution centers on one street, a lot of them. But sure enough, condom distribution centers seem to be associated with areas of higher, higher a little bit. But again, up here, there's no condom distribution centers. Up here, people, I guess they can afford to go to the local CVS or the Walmart that's over here and get their condoms there and have to go to a distribution center. Um, and then leaky sanitation areas. We had a bazillion articles. Oh, yeah, that doesn't help. They're huge, right? So what is it? What of all these horrible potential causal factors are actually leading to Philadelphia having this problem. Well, why don't I add correctional facilities, big highways, trolley stops, bus stops. Oops, gotta remember, I can't use that bus stops because there's just way too many of them. You know, they drive a bus around at night, nobody gets on it, or one person, or 0 people per stop. It's not so good. We're going to add the rail stations, trolley routes, African Americans who we know tend to work more in high risk communities. We're going to add our high use bus stops, health centers, hospitals, another working community. Our projects are affordable housing. And yeah, let's add flu shots to that because you take a bunch of little snotty nosed kids to get their flu shots. You might have spread it around a little bit. And there you go. That's Philadelphia. And if you have any idea, every single one of these factors is something that might contribute to it being very difficult to control and manage a pandemic in a large city. So if you think this is controllable in Philadelphia, silence.